Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, you guys. My name is Holly Willis. I'm the president of the Senior Care Alliance. And just a few announcements before we introduce our sponsor. Our next couple of meetings, July 29th, is Sweet Connections. And this one's going to be in the Roland Nutrition Center. We made a commitment last year to do some Sweet Connections in the Oklahoma area. And so that's something that we are excited to do. So I think the last one we did had a really, really great turnout, did it not? Yeah. And then Candace Cox will be the speaker at that Sweet Connection. And then our next one's August 12th at the Alma Senior Center. Brandy Carnes is going to be talking about senior sneakers, and that's at 11 o'clock. Our next main meeting is August 26th, and that's going to be at Mercy Crest. In September, we won't have a meeting. Does anybody know why? Conference, that's right. So I mean, kudos to Louise and the conference team, conference committee. I think we put on one of the best conferences focused on older adult issues actually last year, somebody told us in the state. So our speakers are Dr. Rachel Fiore, Jamie Powers, who's a nurse practitioner. Shelley Smith is going to be talking about sleep and aging. Dr. James Henry is going to be talking about renal failure. Jameson Bonds is going to be talking about Medicaid planning. Janice Sudbrink is going to be talking about pain management. She's a nurse practitioner as well. Another nurse practitioner is going to be talking about cardiovascular disease. Wonderful, wonderful speakers, Dr. Lori Ward, Ashley Hall. This was the one I wanted just to do a presentation on, was ageism, because that's something I think that's a real problem in our community. So lots of speakers, information about how to get CEUs or sponsor for the conference is on our table. And then the other big announcement is our directory. We have to go to print with our directory within the next month. 2 weeks. Okay, sorry. I made a mistake. Anyway, by the end of this month, beginning of August, if you want to be in our directory, you need to let us know. Those directories are a wonderful benefit for our advertisers because they are out for 2 years. And we give all those directories to every senior center that we go to every month. So really, really awesome opportunity to get the word out about your community or what you're doing in your services. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cynthia, the administrator here, and she can thank you for lunch.
Yes, absolutely. Hello everyone, I'm Cynthia MacArthur, also known as Loaded Guacamole. That is my official taco name. I hope everybody got their taco names. Thank you for coming out on this really super hot day to Brookdale to share a meal with us and learn some really good information, which will be given to you by Ms. Deanna Henry, our speaker for the day. So let's welcome her up.
Hi everybody. I work for True Care Pharmacy. That's a specialty pharmacy here in Fort Smith, and we provide services for nursing home, assisted living, drug rehab, places where people live. So even though I work for a pharmacy, I am a long-term care nurse. It's going to show up in this presentation today. I'm trying to make it include, all of the areas that you all work in, but long-term care is what I know, so it does show. I appreciate your grace with that. This is a lot of material. I'm not going to read the slides to you because I cannot see them. If it's too small and you want the PowerPoint, email me and I will. Here's my information on the back. And I will send it to you. So I'd like to thank Cynthia for letting me talk today in this beautiful room. This is very nice. And this in-service is going to address falls. I know we all care about falls. It's going to help you guys become more proactive in thinking about falls, maybe be able to reduce some. Just think about them in a way that maybe you haven't thought about before. So, as I said, I have a long-term care background. I want to read you guys the federal code for falls, or for accidents rather, in a nursing home, because it's really good. The facility must ensure that the resident environment remains as free of accident hazards as is possible, and each resident receives adequate supervision and assistive devices to prevent accidents. Sounds familiar to some of you, I know. It's very well written, and if you guys can grasp the intent of this regulation, it'll help you look at your falls differently. So nowhere in the red does it say prevent or eliminate accidents. It never says anything about staffing levels, one-on-one. It never says don't let the seniors get up unassisted. We think of the fall itself as the deficient practice. The fall is not a deficient practice. Being able to, if you fail to provide an environment as free of hazards as is possible, if you fail to provide adequate supervision, or if you fail to provide the correct assistive devices, that's where the problem is, not the actual fall. So I want to talk to you guys about the 3 C's. I came across it several years ago. It's very handy. Cause, condition, and circumstances. Practically any accident or fall is going to be attributed to one or all of these 3 C's. The trick is to figure them out before the fall occurs. So, for my home health people, if you share the 3 C's, causes, conditions, circumstances, with your senior's family, with your relief person, you're going to set up a safer home environment for your senior. They can live there longer, maybe. Hospital and rehab people, if you guys apply the 3 C's, you're going to become more intentional with your interventions, and they're going to become more person-centered care to the individual that you are addressing. ISP, care plan coordinators, if any one of you are in here, if you apply the 3 C's to new admission, change of conditions, quarterly updates, you're going to have more control of your falls. You're going to feel more in control about where to go from the fall moving forward, and you're going to eliminate a lot of accidents. Any frontline staff here? If you use the 3 C's, you're going to learn a lot about your residents. And leadership. If you can apply these 3 C's, you're going to improve your quality measures, your facility assessments are going to get smarter and more useful, and your fall committee meetings are just going to be a lot better. Okay, I included some causes there that you can read. A cause can be internal, such as vision loss, vision changes. It can be external, such as other people contributing to falls. For example, I once had I had a resident in a nursing home. She was able to get to the very edge of her wheelchair and stand up unassisted. The nurse saw her, scared her to death, and she screamed, "Oh no, what are you doing out of your wheelchair?" Scared the resident to death. She tottered over, fell. Okay, so other people can cause your accident right for you. So that was an external cause. Conditions, that's just things that our seniors have. They have poor balance, they have sleep deprivation, they have comorbidities, hearing loss. This is not an exhaustive list. And circumstances, again, I didn't give you guys an exhaustive list, but think about the times that your workplace is the most chaotic. Shift change, in-service day. Those are potential indicators, a circumstance where everything is going to line up to cause or contribute to a fall. So I want to share with you a circumstance that happened to me, to my resident rather. One day in my building, a resident fell out of her wheelchair seconds after being visualized wheeling herself down the hall in the dementia unit. The CNA's witness statement included that he verbally acknowledged her by name on his way past her. And she was in no distress whatsoever. She's just taking herself down the hall. So I had to look at the footage, and watching a fall footage is the cringiest because you know it's going to happen, and you're just waiting for it to happen. So I had to watch the footage, and I applied the 3 C's to why she fell. She had severely impaired cognition. She was deconditioned and weak, but that was not new for her. That was her baseline. So the circumstance, I looked at the circumstance, which was what was going on in her environment. And then her environment was the CNA was speeding past her in the opposite direction. He was on his way to answer a call light. So I was happy that he was, you know, on his way to answer a call light. He acknowledged the resident by name. That was also very professional, good, yet it caused her to fall. So we had to put ourselves in her reality. Her BIMS was a 3. So she didn't know where she was, what she was doing there. Obviously, she didn't know what she was supposed to be doing, but obviously something because she was dressed, it was daytime, and she was in the corridor. And then appears this young man on a mission. He clearly knew what was going on, and it was happening behind her. He called to her as he went by. So the only logical thing to do really was get up and follow him, someone that knew what they were doing and where they were going, right? So once we were able to put ourselves in her circumstance, everything was very clear. And so our intervention was to educate staff to pass residents in a calm manner. And you know, it worked for all of us. We were always rushing to a meeting, hurrying to a phone call, hurrying to catch this nurse before they left for the day. So we all had to slow down and think about how our body language was speaking to the residents. Okay. Now, an ounce of prevention regarding admissions. Have you all noticed that right after you get an admission, they fall usually? The first 72 hours are critical for a resident, or excuse me, for a senior to fall in your establishment. It's unfamiliar to them. They're unfamiliar to you. They do not have the landmarks they had in their previous home or in their previous room or in their previous unit. Nothing is familiar. So I know that not every care environment has the luxury of rearranging rooms, but this helped us tremendously. We always asked the wherever the individual came from previously, we said, how was their bed set up in relation to the bathroom door? And so if their bed was this way to the bathroom door, we tried to rearrange the room so that it would reflect that. One less thing for them to have to be thinking about. How was their bed at home oriented to the hall? And we tried to do that, and that was quite helpful. It really was. And you know, admissions are never convenient, they're never easy, but if you guys can do a quick huddle, find that information out, communicate it to environmental services or whoever to rearrange the room as much as possible to the room that they are coming from, it's beneficial. I would encourage you to do your assessment as soon as you can. Admissions are always at the worst possible time, but the time that you save by avoiding the admission, letting the next shift catch it, you're going to spend that time writing INAs and interviewing staff. So you may as well just get in there and get to know the resident as soon as you can. Hourly rounding for the first 72 hours, we had good luck with that, and I do recommend it. Perhaps you have hourly rounding already set up, and I'm going to talk about that more a little bit later. If you're discharging a senior, if you have picked up on anything that is helpful, pass it along. Has anyone ever gotten too much information in report? No, never. And will we ever? No. So if you have picked up a tidbit that really works, give your fellow nurse or caregiver a tip. Okay, vision changes. Forgive me if you all know this already. Peripheral vision decreases as we age, and with dementia especially so. And people with dementia can really only see like this, straight ahead. And so that's something to consider when you're setting up their room, or their tray, or their bathroom kit. Glaucoma, people that have glaucoma also can see straight ahead. People that have macular degeneration cannot see straight ahead. They can only see peripherally. So if you guys can educate your frontline workers to those vision changes, they'll be able to set up the bedside table so that it makes sense to the resident. And they're going to be able to do contrasting colors if they know to do these things. Let's see, in a home care environment, something that you can do to help with vision changes, consider a contrasting color bedspread, washcloth, toilet seat, maybe those little toilet tank covers so that they can visualize the toilet better, trash cans, tablecloths. The plate and the table, if they're the same color, it's going to be harder to tell where the boundaries are. Any AL people here? What color are the bed sheets in the apartment? I bet they're white. What about the washcloths? The walls. There's not a lot of contrast sometimes in a community living environment. Toilet, sink, floor, all the same color. Rehab hospital, where are their personal belongings? Are they where they were at home? Do the shoes go under the bed like they do at home, or are they across the room in the closet where they can't access them? And nursing facility friends, call light within reach is only a good intervention if the resident can visualize the call light. The call light is the same color as the bedspread. It always is. It's clipped to the bedspread. It always is. So maybe some fluorescent tape around the call light. In the bathrooms, the next time you guys find urine in a trash can, note the color of the trash can compared to the color of the floor, the color of the toilet. We had good results by buying those black toilet seats like in elementary school, and hard to find these days. But we started buying brown trash cans and black toilet seats in one of my buildings, just for the contrast and help people orient themselves. Okay, positioning. I did put some tips in here for positioning devices. I'm only going to go over one of them that I have had, well, maybe a couple. I'm afraid I'm going to run over long if I read everything to you guys. Wheelchair seats need to be deep enough so that the resident can sit all the way back against the back of the wheelchair and still have their thighs parallel to the floor, kind of like how you guys are sitting in your chair right now. When a resident leans forward from their wheelchair, because they do, don't they? They can see a paperclip on the floor, can't they? And they'll try to pick it up. So when your individual leans forward out of their wheelchair, make sure that their nipple line does not cross the front of the seat, the edge of the seat, or else they're going to fall out on their head. Okay? So make sure that the wheelchair is not too big for them or too small for them. And your therapy department can help you guys with that, with positioning and the proper size of assistive devices. Now, if you have an individual that does not propel themselves and they have poor trunk control and poor balance, I have had good results with dropping the back of the wheelchair a little bit. It helps them sit upright, and they're not going to be using their feet anyway. But I tell you that with caution. You have to have a tight system if you're going to make changes to a wheelchair, because sooner or later that wheelchair is going to come back into circulation, and it's going to restrain the next person that gets in it. They're not going to be able to reach the floor. They're not going to be able to propel themselves. So only try stuff like that if you have a good system to fix it back when it's no longer being used for that purpose. But dropping the seat back does help with positioning, and you do not have to add anything to them, a positioning device to them that way. Again, therapy can really help with that. Therapy can help with proper bed height for each resident. I asked our therapy department to screen every individual. It took a long time. They didn't have to do it in a weekend. To screen each individual's bed for their height. So when they sit on the edge of the bed, their thighs need to be parallel with the floor. That way they can use their biggest muscle group to get up from the bed. I will get on my soapbox briefly about low beds. I do not recommend them. A low bed is kind of a security. It makes you feel good that you're keeping the resident from falling a long way. But I caution you, they're going to fall in a different way. So getting out of a low bed takes all of these strong muscles away from the resident. Okay? Think about the last time you got out of a beanbag chair. Did you use your quadriceps to get out? You did not. You used your head. You used your face to get out. You lunged out of a beanbag chair and then got your legs underneath you. So that's the same mechanism that individuals are going to use to get out of a low bed. They are not going to think, oh, I'm in a low bed, no way am I going to get out of this because I'm going to land right on my face. They're going to get out of the low bed. So it is safer to have a bed that is matched by physical therapy to their particular height. Mark the position of the bed with tape on the wall, or a line, or anything you choose. Anyone that works in your building is going to be able to understand what that line means if you tell them, and they're going to be able to visualize when they're in there cleaning, or changing out the curtains, or wiping the blinds. They're going to understand that that needs to be adjusted back to the right height. Fall mats. Is anyone still using fall mats? Has anyone ever tripped over a fall mat on your way to provide care? Have you ever picked one up and it's wet underneath? Have you ever gone into a room and seen it propped up against the wall? So I do not recommend fall mats either. I really don't. What we want to do is find out why they're getting out of bed instead of like trying to put all these interventions in place for once they do get out of bed. Okay, I told you guys I was going to talk more about hourly rounding. So here we are. How many times have you got your senior ready for bed, clean, dry, tucked in, comfortable, call-eyed, and they fall 5 minutes later? It happens. So I learned several years ago about the 4 Ps. Maybe you guys have heard of it. It's not new. I did not create it. It's a proactive tool that you use to meet needs that you don't realize the resident has or the individual has, and the individual doesn't yet realize that they have. So if you use it consistently, it really does solve a lot of problems before they arise. Non-clinical staff can use it. We used it as a tool, like 72 hours after admission we used it. We used it on when a resident, or an individual got a new medication, if they had a stomach bug. We used it whenever there was any kind of hiccup that we thought the resident might need just a little bit of extra supervision. So, the 4 Ps: personal, positioning, pain, and placement. The personal is basically their toileting needs. Older people are not as efficient at emptying their bladder. So before we put them to bed or in their recliner or letting them settle anywhere, take them to the bathroom, toilet them. If your individual can stand it, have them void, and then stand them back up and have them stand there for about 15 seconds. And sit down again, they'll void more. That it's just not as efficient as it is in a young person. So a lot of times that second time is very beneficial, and that will keep them from laying down and immediately needing to get back up. Okay, another thing is we forget how many of our seniors take laxatives. That causes stomach cramps and the feeling that you need to get right back up all the time. So the 4 Ps, the personal of the 4 Ps. Before you leave the room, ask, do you need to use the bathroom? Give the resident time to respond. They may have to process that and then think about it. Offer to assist them. If you're not the person that can assist them, go tell somebody that can. The next P is position. So before you leave the room, ask yourself if the senior looks comfortable. Ask them if they feel comfortable, if they need to be repositioned. Visualize that their bed is at the correct height for that mark on the wall. Give them time to decide if they're comfortable or not, or if they need to be moved up in bed. You know, I have a theory. It's only a theory that I made up. But I think that even in a good care environment, seniors' needs do not always get met, even when we ask, because we just go too fast. You know, older folks, maybe they didn't hear all the question, maybe they only heard part of it, or maybe they don't understand, but they're hiding their dementia symptoms, and so they're just gonna say, no, I don't need anything, so that this troublesome person will get away and not figure out that they don't remember where they're at. So give them time. By the time, a lot of times we are so in a hurry, we have so many other tasks, that by the time the resident has processed our question and come up with the correct response, we're gone. So, position. Ask yourself if they look comfortable and ask them if they're comfortable. The next P is pain. Before you leave the room, ask your senior, are you uncomfortable? Are you aching? Are you in pain? Do what you can to make them comfortable. If they note pain, make sure that you elevate that to the proper person, the nurse or whoever can help them with that. A lot of times when an individual runs around in bed, it's because they are experiencing pain, but they can't quite vocalize that that is what's the matter. So they may not be able to comprehend that that's exactly what it is. So we have to look at their nonverbal cues. And wiggling around in bed, getting way down in the middle, that is a nonverbal cue. You know, a lot of cardiac problems that come with age cause leg cramps. Leg cramps, I feel like, are kind of under-recognized in aged people. And, you know, rubbing their legs with lotion at bedtime, that is a non-pharm intervention that anyone can do. Any skill level can do that. Not on the feet, please, because that's slippery. Okay, and the last one is placement. This, I believe, is probably the most important. Do they have all their comfort items? Think about when you settle down at night, finally, to watch TV or go to bed or whatever. What do you have with you? You have your drink, you have your cup, you have your chapstick, you have your phone, you have your pillow. Maybe the resident wants all that stuff too. How many times have you guys had a fall because the individual's phone was ringing and it was just out of reach, just on the other side of this table? So make sure that their placement of their comfort items is where they can see it based on what their vision is. This doesn't really belong here, but did you know that 80% of all call light requests are non-clinical? So truly, anybody can answer a call light. I thought that was interesting. I would have thought maybe a third, but it's 80%. All right, how we do it? Fall investigations. Okay, I have given you 10 questions here to ask when an individual falls. They are very helpful. If you can't see them, email me and I'll send you a bigger PowerPoint, but they are very, very helpful. I did not create them. They really help you recreate the fall scene. You know, one of the breakdowns in healthcare is that the people that investigate the falls are rarely the same people that are on the scene of the fall. So these 10 questions really do bridge that gap. They make the people on the scene ask smarter, thorough questions, figure out more, and paint a clearer picture for the fall committee to then go back and look at later. In one of my buildings, we had a high fall rate, and we implemented a diagram. It was the most hated and useful tool that I have ever enforced, but it was a diagram. First person on the scene had to fill it in, where the resident was, where their walker was, where the bed was, where the dining room was, where the door was, where the window was, what was the floor like, was it wet, what was it wet with, was it shiny, was there clutter on the floor. They had to draw all that out, and incidentally, we found that our housekeeping supervisor was so detailed with those drawings that we gave her a permanent spot on our fall committee. She was instrumental. Okay, so recreating the fall scene. Whenever you're looking or recreating, you're reading the accident report, trying to figure out what happened, keep this in mind. I am going to read this to you. A fall right at the bed, the bedside, the toilet, the chair, like right in front of it or beside it, that is an indicator of blood loss to the brain. So what could cause blood loss to the brain? Stand up too fast, orthostatic hypotension, dehydration. So that might clue you to maybe check for hypertension, maybe push fluids. If they make it about 5 feet from where they were and then they fall, then probably that could be a balance problem. Easy, let's get PT to eval and treat if indicated. Maybe their footwear was not good. Maybe they had one sock and one shoe, or they had a non-skid sock at home, and they 5 feet from their recliner is a carpet, and they caught on the carpet. Non-skid socks really only work on a smooth surface, not on a carpeted surface. So if you have transitions like that, probably avoid non-skid socks. A fall greater than 15 feet from where they started from, that's fatigue. That is, they went too far without an assistive device or a brake. Okay, so some good interventions for a fall at 15 feet or more. Maybe put a chair in the hallway. Just a place for them to get their breath and get back up again and go further. Maybe a walker in front of their chair to help them. Okay, let's see. Let's skip. I want to talk to you briefly about, I want to share one time that we thought outside the box on fall interventions. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. I had a resident one time in a nursing home that fell 7 times in 5 nights. We tried everything. Her room looked like Lisa Frank. Everything was highlighted. Everything was neon colors. It was not helpful. We asked her, what are your nights like? Why are you falling multiple times every night? And she indicated that her nights were terrible. They were agonizing. She had terrible leg cramps. She was maxed out on her gabapentin. She had the bed cradle so that the blankets didn't touch her feet. She was still in agony with restless leg. And we couldn't think of anything else to do with her, and my medical records nurse got in a holistic magazine and found an article. The article was on the benefits of ivory soap under the bed at night. None of us believed it. There's something about magnesium. None of us believed in it whatsoever. So I swallowed my pride and went down and asked Joni if we could put a bar of ivory soap under her bed. And of course, she was fine with it, and it reduced her fall somewhat. So we kept it on the care plan. We thought we were doing wonderful. When it was time for our survey, the surveyors threw a fit. kind of establishment are you running? This is wives' tales. This is voodoo. What are you doing here? And so you better believe I had kept that article, and I produced it immediately. And I also had the data for them to see that her falls really had reduced. We did not know why, but we were keeping up with the intervention. So not only did we not get a tag for 7 falls in 5 days, I had to make a copy of that article for one of the surveyors that had Lincoln Centers. So don't be afraid to think outside the box. You really have to prove that you tried everything. You never know what's going to work. Okay, root cause analysis. Do you guys use root cause analysis? Maybe you have heard it called the 5 whys. I'm gonna tell you about root cause analysis. It was a difficult idea for me to grasp, but once I did and started using it, I got better at it. It takes practice. It took practice for me to get a hold of it. I'm gonna give you a more straightforward example of root cause analysis before we apply root cause analysis to falls. One of my duties working for the pharmacy is that I check sniff medication carts to make sure that their stock drugs are in date. So vitamins, Mylanta, allergy, loratadine, whatever. The building that I was at yesterday employs an individual, employs an individual to order stock meds for the building. She's very diligent. Every time an order comes in, she unpackages it, circles every expiration date, and puts it on a shelf. So she's very good at that. So I should never find expired meds ever in that building, right? But I do. So that system is not working. It's a good system as far as it goes, but it's not going far enough. So this individual has a system that's good for identifying expiration dates, but it doesn't do anything to ensure that the expiration dates are being honored. You know, this stuff is expiring in the stock room. Nurses are coming in, grabbing it, putting it on their cards, and then I find it on my rounds. Okay? So the root cause, we have to determine what is the actual problem. So root cause analysis is also called the 5 whys. So let's do the 5 whys. You just ask why until you hit on it. And it usually takes about 5 times, sometimes more. So you start with the problem, which is expired meds are on the cart. Why are expired meds on the cart? Because they were expired in the storeroom. Why were they expired in the storeroom? Because nobody's checking the shelves. Why isn't anybody checking the shelves? Because leadership never told anyone to check the shelves. And why didn't leadership tell anybody to check the shelves? Because leadership didn't know it was a problem. Why didn't leadership know it was a problem? Because they never audited the med cards. Why don't they audit the med cards? Because they know Deanna's going to come and do it. That is the root cause. So, root cause analysis, the 5 whys, that tells us that I need to audit the storeroom, not just the med cards. To discard any expired stock meds, I need to educate the purchaser on first in, first out, just like in a grocery store. And I also need to reevaluate that plan if I come back in next month and see expired meds on the cart again. That's what root cause analysis is. So let's apply it to a fall. This is just a scenario I made up. The home health aide came to assist Jane Doe in her home and found her on the floor in the hallway between her living room and her bedroom. The aide asked the 10 questions that are in your PowerPoint, and Jane Doe told her that she got out of the recliner and went down the hall to make the bed, but she didn't make it. She fell before she could get there. Why did she fall before she could get there? Well, we just learned that a fall of 15 feet or more indicates fatigue. So why was Jane Doe fatigued? Because she spends all day in the recliner and she's deconditioned. Why is she deconditioned? Because she's not going to the senior center anymore. Why isn't she going to the senior center anymore? Because she can't drive. Why can't she drive anymore? Because she can't feel the accelerator and brake. Why can't she feel them? Diabetic neuropathy. Who would have thought diabetic neuropathy from seeing a resident in the hallway? That's why the 5 whys are helpful. They help you think objectively and come up with the actual real solution. So what did the aide do? She placed a kitchen chair halfway down the hall for starters, and then she reported the fall to Jane's nurse. Jane's nurse came and assessed Jane Doe. She asked the prescriber to evaluate for medication adjustment. She asked Jane's social worker to arrange transport to the senior center, get her out of the house. She asked PT to eval and treat as indicated for weakness. And she asked the aide to start walking Jane to the mailbox and back when she came. Okay, we're almost done. Reducing recurrent falls. Recurrent falls are a big deal. I'm about to give you the #1 reason for recurrent falls. We just talked about it. It's that you didn't get to the root cause of the first fall. That's why you have a recurrent one a lot of times. So, to reduce recurrent falls, check on the intervention. Okay, so you have a fall. This is Tuesday. You had a fall Monday. So Tuesday morning, check on the intervention that you put in place yesterday. Are they doing it? Did everyone start signing the in-service? Was it effective? Did they fall again? Does a senior have any insight into why they fell? You know, sometimes they're so shook up because they fell that they might not be able to really be interviewable right away. But the next day they thought about it, and maybe they can give you some clues to what led up to the fall. I have found that we're not great as an industry with PRN pain medication following fall. Like sometimes we don't ask the resident about it, or the resident maybe cannot communicate that they're having post-fall pain. So if they hurt their knee Monday, they're going to be favoring it today. Their gait's going to be off, and their risk of fall is going to be greater. Okay? It doesn't have to be a complicated thing, following it. I just want to tell you a quick story because it really stuck with me. This happened to another consultant that I have. A resident in one of her buildings fell frequently and immediately after staff checked on her. It never failed. And every time they asked her, "What were you doing when you fell?" she always said the same thing. "I was putting the cat out." There's no cat. But she always said that. And so one night, it was quiet. The nurse checked on her. She was fine. She had everything she needed. The nurse shut the door. Ow! The door was squeaking. It sounded exactly like a cat. Root cause analysis. So in that case, W40, problem solved. It doesn't always work out that easy, but just be open. Be open to anything. Is anyone here on a fall committee where I can go over tips with you, or if not?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we only have this room for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
We have some seniors that want to let me go here pretty quickly. So if you can go ahead and get close to your closing, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I knew I had a lot of material on here. Fall committee tips, I have them. You can email me for them if you can't read them here. My contact information is the very last slide. All right, I appreciate your attendance. I know, and your attention, I know that was a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
It was fun.
All right, so I understand we've got some folks waiting for bingo, so we'll do an Indian say what's going on about their facility?
I do. All right, well, I'm Ashley with Mercy Rehab Hospital. Y'all are aware that we're a 50-bed rehab hospital. We admit from home, from skilled in the hospital. Just here to announce, I got some of my coworkers here today. Just real quickly, want to introduce them. I got Jessica, which is our business development director.
Right when I made you talk.
Back here, I have Elena Good. She's our Oklahoma girl. So anybody that wants to co-market in Oklahoma, she's your girl. And then we have a new girl with this. This is Michaela in pink. She's going to be covering all of Northwest Arkansas and Little Rock. We very much love this community, and we want to work together. Our mission and goal is to get people back to the River Valley. So if anybody has any time on their plate and we get in a position where we as well, we would love to co-market and bring those people back home to Fort Smith where they belong, because it seems like they're all going to either like Oklahoma City or Little Rock or Northwest Arkansas. But here to say that we do have some beds available. Let us know if we can help, and I'll pass it to whoever wants to add anything new.
Hello, I just wanted just to let you know that we're going to have our ribbon cutting for Cedarville Wellness Center, August 6th at 5 o'clock. And also we have our health fair for back to school on August 8th at North Cycling Oakland Highway. And also we have a ribbon cutting for a new building and adding the dental and pharmacy in Waldron, family clinic in Waldron. That's going to be in August 24th. So do you want the August 24th? For that, I will send Ms. Louise information the way she can send that email with all the events that are coming up for River Valley for my care services.
Anybody else? No other elevator speeches today? Thank you, Adriana, for mentioning that. So if you are a member of the Senior Care Alliance and you have an event that's going on at your building or a place where you work, please send that flyer to Louise, and if you're an active member, she will put that on our Facebook page. We have lots of traffic on that Facebook page, so we appreciate you doing that, Louise. Any other announcements?
Make sure to get those movie themes ideas flowing. Remember, our conference is coming up. Best decorated, best theme gets a free $250 sponsorship. Cassie won it last year from Florida.
It's okay, we're gonna win.
We'll see about that. So get those ideas flowing, and make sure you get your table reserved with Louise. I know it's hard getting sponsorship money from companies, but you want to get that reserved fairly quickly, so that way we can start budgeting and figure out what we can do for this year. But if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. And also, if you want to help us market a little bit, the Senior Care Alliance, remember that it's all word of mouth. So make sure that when you're going to these places, you're networking, going to small groups, please mention Senior Care Alliance, and we would love to help out our community more if you have any ideas.
Yeah, you can grab some information from our table and take it with you. I think half of us are halfway employed by our employers and a quarter employed by Senior